Okay, welcome to another town hall meeting. Hope everyone's doing well. Let me get my screen shared here so we have some notes. I've got our YouTube chat here in the lower right. If you guys want to keep an eye on that with me. I saw that we have a few people watching us through YouTube today. So, all right. So we've got a few of us here. We'll see if others join, but we're gonna go ahead and get started. It doesn't look like we have to do any introductions today, so we'll move on to action items. I was just saying, I got several of these that I am delinquent on. So I just scheduled a meeting with Rick so that we can take care of these two. We've got to talk about chapter audit process and doing the metrics, handing that over to Rick. So we're going to meet next Thursday to do those two things. And we'll see, maybe I can get the email for chapters redirected during that session as well. Adam, any update on coordinating a meeting with the leadership team? I know we had kind of a partial meeting.
Yeah, not so much. Unfortunately, no, I haven't had any success in getting that group together to identify a time to meet. Apologies there.
No, I'm sorry you're having so much difficulty. I know it's often a challenge when you have so many busy people involved. I wish I had a suggestion. I'm not quite sure how else we go about that.
Yeah, I was thinking that if I had just like, 3 of that group responding, then that would be enough to warrant putting a call together. But I think so far only Eric Bubar has indicated his availability. So,
Adam, Ian is doing the education meetups. So if you show up for one of those education meetups, you may be able to look him in the eye and have a side conversation about let's get together.
Okay. When is the next one of those?
It's the obvious next question, and I would have to pull up the calendar to answer it.
It'll be on the calendar.
Looks like
but I have
next
another
Friday at noon.
I have another
my
suggestion. People get a lot of emails, and this is just one more email in their inbox from a name they maybe don't recognize. John, what if you were to send an email to all these people explaining what we're trying to do here and introducing Adam and asking them to please fill out his poll and help us get this going?
I'd be happy to do that.
That would be great.
Adam, can you just pop me a few hints, like the link to the poll and everything else? I've done the poll, I'm proud to say. But send me the message roughly that you want, and I'll turn it into an email.
You got it. I will do that right now.
See if that goes anywhere. It's the only thing I can think to try. Sometimes John's name carries some weight. All right, so John, finish and send annual report for Dodora, which we realized is kind of more of a priority than we thought. Where are we at?
Exactly. Ben and I met this week, but we agreed to get together this weekend to review the last report, the inputs to it, update them, and so on. So we're on the case, but he's now working 9 to 5 at the school. So
I don't know what goes into that. Do you need, like, I don't know, we got all these metrics I've been gathering. Are those going to help you?
They will. I think he already has sort of a collection of links to those metrics and so on. But we'll go over that. I suspect that he's going to end up giving me all of the ingredients, and then I'm going to do the next revision of the annual report. And for that, rest assured, I'll call on you as I must.
Well, I just put the link to that in the chat, so you have that one, and let me know what else you need.
Great, thank you.
John and Ben meet with Ian, interns and educators. Now, I think maybe I left this one on here in error. You guys already had a meeting, didn't you, last time we talked?
We did, but Ben did follow up with them in the last couple of days.
So there had been talk about Nush joining us here in one of these town halls. That was possibly going to be last week, which didn't happen. Do you know anything about whether or not he's going to join one of these, or did they just decide to do that in the educational meetup instead?
No, I think it was unresolved, which is what Ben pinged them about within the last 3 days.
Okay. Well, I know one of these topics is going to be addressed today. I'm going to be taking the lead, I guess, on the bionics meeting today to talk about a potential kit there. There's some discussion about maybe sort of an experimenter's kit instead of doing a particular design, maybe having all the different components. So Alina and I will both be in that meeting, which is an hour after the conclusion of this one. And anyone's welcome to jump in on that if you want to be part of that discussion. I guess, do I leave this on here? Are we still kind of trying to follow up with them on this, or is this no longer an action item?
No, I think it is an action item still.
Okay, I'll leave it. Okay, so let's move on. Metrics finally got to update these, including the last couple of weeks that I missed. And like I said, Rick and I will be meeting next week to do the handoff, so he'll be taking this over. But this is where we stand. And the only thing that really jumped out at me this week was the drop in our e-NABLE fund balance. Went down to 26K. And so we're right about that point where we usually start trying to generate some new fundraising activity. I know we do still have a couple of recurring donations coming. One of those is Dora, right?
Yeah, presuming that our annual report meets their
okay, so they have not made it.
satisfaction.
So that's a maybe. That's there's no commitment there per se.
Well, no, it's not true. They made a 3-year commitment. I believe
did,
that
okay.
we've gotten 2 years of it, but it's
So
all
what
contingent
was the other one? There was one that had Bob's friend who is also named Bob. Who's he with?
Talking about the Milstein Foundation.
Milstein, yeah. Are they still doing something?
That's a really good question. I don't remember the status of that.
So those are the only two that I could think of. Obviously, we want to start with trying to, keep those that have already been engaged.
Shore up at the door. That's right.
Engaged, but then I think we might also need somebody to start looking at new opportunities. And Bob was really the one that had taken the lead on that for us for years. So we need to think about who might be in a position to help with that. So food for thought, don't need to figure it out now, but we're getting to that point where we will need to be thinking about it. All right, let's moving on. We've got some of the posts of interest from the hub. This has always been kind of one of my favorite parts. Now, usually we have Ben here to kind of capture notes, and he usually then posts the link to these recordings for the people that when we're talking about their posts. I noticed that we don't have Ben, and we also don't have Sarah.
No, Sarah is here.
Oh, Sarah is here. Oh, I didn't have my window expanded all the way here. Sorry about that, Sarah. Let me open this up so I can see all my people. There you are. Hi, Sarah. Okay, so Sarah, you able to, do you have access to these notes? I should have asked at the beginning. Are you able to help us out here? I don't know if she's able to hear me or not.
I think she can hear us because she unmuted herself the moment we mentioned her. However, we don't hear you, Sarah.
Okay, I'm just going to.
But I have now opened the workflowy document, so I will get on the stick and try to be note taker.
And I'm going to put them on. I just put the link in chat too. So Sarah, if you're able to get in there and help with notes, please feel free to do so. We can have multiple people taking notes simultaneously, no problem. And as I was just saying, then if somebody could, and I'm kind of hoping Sarah can help us with this, as we talk about these, we usually just kind of post a link to this, particular moment in the video in those threads so that these people can kind of hear our discussion if there is anything useful. So with that said, Joshua Trubinsky is seeking advice for 2 devices as far as which design to use. So one of these is just partial fingers. Just these 2 fingers here in the middle. The other one is more of a full kind of hand need, but it's, well, it looks like there might be a thumb, so it would be fingers only, but it's a small individual, as you can see. And so the question of age and really what kind of functionality are we going to achieve here comes in. So the reason I wanted to highlight this one is really along the lines of, is this something that we can really benefit these people for? When I look at this top one, for example, with these 2 partial fingers, I immediately question whether anything we can put on his fingers is really going to give him better functionality than what he has naturally. I kind of wonder if anything that we put on those fingers is really going to improve his gripping abilities. I'm kind of curious in your thoughts, Rick, because I think I saw a comment from you saying that this was doable. Do you think putting something that's sort of a single phalanx on the end there is actually going to give him improved functionality over what he has just with his natural hand there?
We asked some questions on that. We asked if he had pain. We asked how much motion and movement he had in the existing finger. And so a lot of that would depend.
Okay.
I would probably tend to say no, that it would probably get in the way.
Okay, so we're thinking along the same lines. You're doing the right thing in gathering more information. And I think the same on the other one. What are your thoughts on this, on the really the small kiddos' hands here? I mean,
I think there's a lot we could do there,
okay.
really. But once again, we need to know more. We've asked some questions. We're still, I think, waiting for responses on.
Okay, so it looks like you're the main one asking questions here. Marco Dominguez also is jumping in with some ideas. Okay.
Yeah, and I like what they do. They put in a Thingiverse, just to give them an idea of what's out there to see what the individual thinks. See, these, like the Nick finger is not going to help them at all. It's just going to make his fingers really long.
Oh yeah, it'd have to be like one piece of the Nick finger.
But I think that what this does is it shows them, what we have. I mean, they'd almost have to just take the tips off of the Nick finger, and it's not really going to give them any mobility, and you wouldn't even need the string. It would just make the finger longer.
That's what it looks like to me. It looks like it's almost more of a one of those cosmetic kind of finger.
Yeah. That's why we had even mentioned, remember when you and I had talked about the magician's fingers? In my mind.
Well,
yes.
Yeah.
I think that actually is the most likely augmentation, if there is to be any. I agree that functionality is unlikely to be increased, but an off-the-shelf magician's extender would
I would post
make
that,
the condition almost invisible if they care.
And I hadn't even thought about that, but I would encourage you to post that here, Rick, if you want to jump back in and link them to those, what you just mentioned, those sort of finger.
We had discussed it, and also they come in many flesh tones, which is nice. So for cosmetic purposes,
that's right, because they have to hide them from magic.
Yeah, they have them in everything. And I will tell you, we have a bunch of them, and you can't see them. They look awesome. They really do look good. I think $6 is about the median price that we've paid. But, if we get the really high end ones, it's about $6 ish.
Excellent. Okay, so yeah, let's follow up on that one. I think that's a really good idea that I haven't seen anyone here talking about, and I think that's for him, for the hand. I think that's why we should be thinking nothing 3D printed. I think that's one of those stick-on things.
Now for the kid, I'm really still leaning for the kid. I'm still kind of leaning actually for the socket, but we don't have a lot of people that seem to have done sockets yet. But what a great time to start, I mean.
Okay.
I don't understand what you just said. What
how would a socket be relevant here?
Oh, with the socket?
Yeah, how would you use, because this guy, he has hands.
Oh, I was talking about the child. I'm sorry.
No, that's what I'm looking at. The
child
child,
has hands too.
He's got palms. So how would a socket work here?
Well, because the socket fits over the fingertips.
Oh, so finger sockets, not like a wrist socket.
No, not that. Just going from like the knuckles forward. The socket going from knuckles forward. And we ask questions like, what do we have? I mean, is there movement in the existing nubs? If there is, that's awesome. But making a socket and then attaching the fingers to the socket is what we have done in the past, and it works very, very well.
I'm curious, Adam, what are your thoughts when you see a child this young? What are your feelings as far as when it's appropriate and under what circumstances?
You know who I have thoughts, but who would be really helpful here is Tainara, who spoke last week at the healthcare discussion. She has a lot of experience working with pediatric amputees.
Excellent. Okay, and I see you tagged her here.
Yeah. You know, I think this kind of gets to the question of what purpose do these prosthetics fill?
That's right.
And I guess I'd want to know a little bit more about what this person's resources are and what their care team is currently working on, and whether she has any degree of function at sort of baseline.
Yeah,
Um,
I tend to agree.
so
I see kids like this, and I immediately find myself questioning, is it really the child that wants this device, or is it the parents trying to make themselves feel better? And
yeah, and I can't speak to that, but I would say that there are definitely ways that tools could be introduced. I am not sure, and again, I'm realizing this is a drum that I'm beating a lot in these discussions lately, but I'm not sure that replicating the appearance of a quote unquote typical hand
yeah,
is necessarily the best end goal. Maybe it is, but I think working with the care team to identify specific functions
yeah.
that they would like to perform would be the better route, rather than considering how we can get like an anatomic hand in place.
I think that's very good advice.
Right. But yeah, we repeat ourselves a fair amount. I think that's okay. And so I'm going to repeat the observation that this is a young kid. She or he is below the 3 to 4 year age point that we typically recommend, which is to say it's probably too early. And at this age, this kid probably has no sense that she has any problem at all, and therefore she doesn't have any problem at all. As she gets older, she may well want something to facilitate social interactions with peers, in order to, to have a cool hand instead of a funny hand. And later still, functionality may become an issue. And helping the parents understand that there are a variety of scenarios, and that they change over time, and that these problems may not be as daunting as they, and as troubling as they understandably are for any parent, is, I think, an important part of what we can do, is to say, look, we had an exchange at RIT back in the day where a couple from Long Island brought in a baby who was about this old. And there was another parent of an RIT graduate whose daughter had the same, basically the same syndrome. And the parent of the college graduate said, it seems like a big deal, but it's not such a big deal. But let me correct that and say, it is a big deal. But my daughter is graduating right now, and this is just such a small part of her life and who she is, that you come to realize that it's just one of the things involved in life and in growing up. In addition to that, the notion that there was a group of people who were available to help with the cosmetic, to help with the social, to help with the functionality issues over time, has been very helpful for that Long Island couple, I believe. Even if we do or don't provide a device, having that safety net and that advice can be very helpful. So I think providing that sort of range of options is itself a reassuring service we can provide.
Excellent. Okay. Well, I will, hopefully we'll be able to get a link to this discussion posted here so that they can benefit from our comments, but I feel like these are in good hands, pardon the pun.
Yeah, if I could just toss in one thing, and John, I think that that's very insightful, and that's a really great anecdote. I think that this lends some further credence to something that we've discussed about in the past, which is trying to build out a knowledge base of additional tools beyond like the Raptor and the other traditional hands, trying to say, hey, this is what we use, so this kid could use a fork, and they had this size of distal of a residual stump. And,
Yeah.
this is what we did, in addition to the really cool things like the bicycle handle and playing a violin, there's a lot of like mundane stuff that makes, maybe I'm speaking outside my mouth a little bit because I'm not an amputee. But in my experience working with patients, the things that change people's lives are the boring, mundane things like Tainara's just brilliant little bottle holder that allows people with prosthetics to hold a water bottle without crushing them. Just little things like that are boring and maybe not exciting to think about that actually make huge impactful changes in people's lives. I think that's where there's a lot of opportunity for sort of expanding this network's reach.
Yeah, you're right. And we have failed to counteract the selection bias that the people who come to us are the ones who've been excited about the notion that they can use their 3D printer to make a mechanical hand that opens and closes. And your point is really well taken. I also wanted to say that the solutions provided are not necessarily to be mounted on the hand or the arm. That some of the most effective bicycle adapters I've seen are sockets mounted on handlebars so that they get to put their nubs into this little tube and it stays on the bike. Similarly, door handle openers for people who can't grip and turn a knob is a really nice device. And so I think you're right about what you said. And I think that if we featured a few of those objects, and I think the two I've named are really common needs. Maybe the door handle opener, the bicycle adapter, and the cup holder. If they were prominently offered devices, they do provide an opportunity for 3D printing, but they might help us break out of the make a hand mold.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on, guys, if you don't mind. We have a lot more to cover.
Course. Sorry.
That's okay. Next one here, I think, is a quick one. Sarah Sylvester is doing a project for class. I can't remember the details. Let's pull it up here. Senior in biomedical engineering. And for her senior design project, she's been tasked with designing a new 3D printed prosthetic with some specific desired aspects to the final design, kind of along the lines of what we were just talking about. And as part of the project, she's required to do multiple interviews of both users of prosthetic devices and the makers. And so she's putting a call out here for anyone that's willing to talk to her to do a short interview via email, to just reach out to her, and she gives her email address there. So I just wanted to help her kind of put that call out there. If anyone, either our device users or our makers, are willing to answer a few questions, please go ahead and reach out, and we'll see if we can help her.
And I'm sorry, both she and Kyle have contacted me and sent me a list of questions.
Excellent.
And we're going to have, I guess, a Zoom meeting, which is fine. Good. But we've got the list of questions. I'd be happy to share with you guys if you would like to see them.
Yeah, I mean, I think anyone that's interested in getting involved can just email directly. Her email address is here, and I'm sure she'll just reply back with those same questions. But there's
a young man named Kyle. I forgot his last name. He's working with her.
Okay.
And he's on here as well.
Okay, I'm not seeing him, but okay. All right, let's move on. So just wanted to call some attention to that. The next one, this one was really interesting. Thierry, who we know from our very large chapter in France, he's been immensely successful in what they've done out there, and he's been a very long time leader of that community. And he's asking, do we have a kinetic arm? He's saying that they've really had a lot of demand for the kinetic hands, and he's wondering if there's an elbow-powered version, which I think is a really good question to be asking. He tagged Matt Botel, but we haven't heard back from him yet. But meanwhile, our friend Alexander has jumped in and said, maybe I can help. And somebody else, Christoph, said that he did something like this, and he shared a photo here where he basically did a mashup of an unlimited arm with a kinetic hand. It doesn't look to me like he was able to find all of the original files. It looks like he shared a couple of STLs here, but I'm not seeing any CAD files, so I don't know if he maybe didn't keep the original CAD files from this project. But there is some information here, and I think this is a thread worth following because it looks like they're still kind of trying to come to the right solution, but I agree that having a sort of a kinetic style arm would be a really nice addition to our catalog. Anyone else have thoughts on this?
It's an idea whose time should have come a year or two ago. It really should be, I think, our go-to arm for this purpose. I think Christoph gave the impression that he hasn't figured out the mechanics yet.
Original kinetic tensioners are too long. He prepared his own tensioner. All other items from the unlimited.
Say, I have no idea how to close this hand. I was thinking.
And he hasn't tested other sizes. So there's work to be done.
But I think this is a really ripe project. And I would add that if this were done, it would be trivial to put a spring into it and have a normally closed gripper, kinetic gripper, which I think is also a very appealing possibility.
Okay, interesting. How do we not lose track of this? It looks like Alexander is actually expressing some interest so that if further work is needed, he might be able to do that, which would be great. I don't know, I'm hoping one of us can kind of follow up on this and make sure this doesn't get lost, but
well, I'm putting a comment.
Okay, maybe that's right, because then you'll get notifications then, John. So that looks like an interesting project though, and I would love to see a kinetic arm. So I don't know if anyone else here wants to be involved in that, but there's the link, and let's see what we can come up with. Moving on, last one here is from Dare or Dari Blue. I don't know how to pronounce this. He's a partial hand amputee seeking some help with customization. I think we might have touched on this one before, but it looked to me like there were some new comments in here, and recently he shared photos of his hand and the device that he currently has. So it looks like the fingers are taken care of, and he's looking for something to add in here for a thumb device. And I don't know, Rick, I'm thinking you might be the best among us to help here. This is just the kind of thing you do in terms of coming up with custom sort of bolt-on components for things like this. Any thoughts?
We actually have a thumb. It's a thumb only device that looks like it might attach to that very nicely if that is in fact. I've not seen the back of the hand device. That's very, I mean, it's very elegant how it works. It looks like it might just be very easy in CAD just to attach it and reprint.
So if you wouldn't mind, let's see.
I'm not sure. Did he attach his CAD file for that hand or not?
I don't believe so. I didn't see any. There's just JPEGs here. So why don't you respond here? I'm going to give you the link in chat.
Yeah, somehow I missed that one, but we actually have just a thumb only device. It's very nice. By the way, I can't remember the name of it. It's not the frog. It's something thumb. I forget the name of it, and it's in our toolbox.
Oh, I wasn't aware of that.
I found this. Oh, great. Don't know if you're interested in it at all. Throw it away. I don't care. I think I bought one time.
I think that was accidental.
But yeah, it's a nice thumb. It's really nice. And it goes across the palm, but it could just as easily attach, with a very simple combine with CAD. I mean, that'd be like 2 keystrokes.
Okay.
And I will find the name of it. I just forgotten the name of it, but it's on Thing.
Okay. We'll see if you can find it, Rick. I put the link to this post in chat. If you wouldn't mind, just grab that and maybe keep it open in a tab so you can respond later. Just
sure.
Let them know. That would be a great help.
Yeah.
Right.
Especially if he has the STLs, I'd be happy to fix it for him if he wanted to.
Great. All right, let's move on. Recurring meetings. Today we have our Bionic design group coming up at 1 p.m. Eastern. As I mentioned before, I'll be talking with my wife will be there with me, Alina, and we'll be talking about a potential new kit for those interested in experimenting with bionics. don't know anything about how we'll do it or if it's even viable. It just seems like something that might be especially appealing for classrooms looking to get into, something more than just 3D printing and assembly. So more discussion on that later. I hope somebody will join us. I don't believe we have our new monthly summary ready yet. Let me just double check.
No, it's not.
No, we don't
Ben and
have
I did
October.
work on it this week. It's
Okay.
coming soon.
Well, that's okay. Let's just pull up our October calendar here. So we've got the Bionic meeting today. Then it looks like we've got education next Friday. Oh, and we never got rid of this. We should go ahead and remove the collaborative design meeting that's no longer happening, at least in its current form. Hello, come on.
Mhm.
If I can get my view back here, we'll I don't know why deleting an event takes so long. All right, I'll just have to leave that for later. So we've got education next Friday, new member meetup. Oh, I missed one here. We've got the chapter leaders roundtable on the 17th. So that's the week from this coming Monday.
And by the way,
currently-
there is a group that's now doing 3D printed splints and so on in Ukraine.
we
And the
haven't-
organizer of that
we haven't-
will be joining us on that day.
We have the chapter leaders meeting and the device pilots meeting scheduled at the same time, same day, it looks like. Is that intentional?
Hi, everybody. I'm
Hey, Ben.
Ben.
Hey, look at
Joining
you in
to
the
say hi.
classroom.
No,
it's an adventure. What's up?
How's your new teaching career?
Oh, it's an adventure. It's
Imagine.
today went pretty good, but it's there's a lot going on. It's definitely a transition, a little bit of a learning curve. And they're fast, so it's like you really have to just. It's not just like hanging out. It's jumping in.
There was a question posed to Ben just a minute ago.
Oh, it's just, I
Yeah.
noticed that the chapter leader meeting and the device pilots meeting are at the same day and time.
Yeah, so I'm actually going to delete or cancel the device pilots meeting. That's what we've been doing the last couple months. But
Gotcha.
I left it in there just as sort of a reminder that we had done the device pilots meetings in the past. It really was, I think for a number of months, about 6 months, it was really great. We had a lot of really interesting discussions, but it'll be really important to find a chapter leader for that, or a meeting leader for that group if we want to start that again. So just sort of planting the seed that over the next couple of weeks for everybody to think about within the community who might be a person that uses a device, maybe one of these people that are posting in the hub, who would be interested in sort of rallying that community and coming up with some guest presenters. We did have a professional baseball player present in that group. We had Nick Height, who works at Google and uses a device, present in that group. So there's been some really interesting folks involved, but
Okay.
again, I think it really makes a lot of sense to have somebody who uses a device leading that group.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Well, so then on the 17th, we'll have the chapter leaders meeting. That's a Monday. All the other meetings appear to be on Fridays. So just to quickly run through those again, today is the Bionic meeting. Then next Friday will be the educational meetup. The following Friday will be the new members meetup. And then the Friday after that is the focus follow-up workshop. Now, I think I'm taking over the focus follow-up workshops, but am I supposed to be sort of like planning the topic and everything for this month? Because I don't know what we're doing, if so.
I had sent, Sarah sent an email to Adam to see if maybe the chapter leaders would want to meet. It sounds like that's probably not going to be able to come together. John and I were brainstorming this week to try to figure out what would be a focus follow-up session. Does anybody have any ideas of a topic or a person that would be a good fit for that for October?
I wonder if I don't know. Maybe I'm asking for trouble here. Is it worth having somebody that's done work with lower limb devices give us a presentation, just because of all the discussion we're having around this Afghanistan initiative and potentially?
Yes, very much. Yes.
I don't think we're going to be able to get that together by the end of the month. But we have had a lot of presentations with lower limb.
Okay.
Pulling some of those together would be great, and then reaching back out to some of those teams. Does somebody, Adam, do you want to do some digging into the lower limb community and resources and try to organize that for November? I can send. There's been, I think, 3 or 4 different presentations about lower limb devices.
Yeah, that would be great. And that's actually, for once, an area where I can bring a little bit of expertise.
Great.
So that would be great.
And and Adam, once you've found those people, it's not out of the question that you could ping them and that they'd say, "Sure, I can come to the meeting." We may not get it on the calendar, but if the event is on the calendar, so you might be able to get them to participate.
Well, it'd be great
Sure.
to publish October's events ASAP. So does anybody else have any other ideas for the focus follow-up so we can just publish it out? We've got mostly everything else covered. I was going to mention also that Adam's healthcare meeting is also going to continue. That's not on the calendar. I wanted to sort of double check and make sure that that was going. And it sounds like that will be the 4th Monday of October. Is that right, Adam?
That sounds right to me.
Great. So that'll be
Okay.
the
So that'll be on the
24th.
24th.
Yeah.
Yep, that looks good.
Excellent. Okay. Yeah, I don't have any good ideas right now. I'm gonna have to think about the focus follow-up. It occurs to me that when we first started doing those, it was actually kind of an outgrowth from the new member meetup, and it was sort of what was being asked about in the new member meetup, and then kind of going deeper into something from there. So from the last, couple of new member meetups, has there been any kind of recurring questions or anything that people wanted more depth on or anything like that you guys can think of?
Yeah, it's a good point, Jeremy. Rick, is there any discussions that came up that you think, or people from that group that would be worth tapping?
I don't have a problem asking and see what they have to say.
No, I was asking if there was anything from the last ones that you've done previously. I'm hoping not to wait until after the 21st to figure out what our topic will be on the 28th.
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, we'll have to give it some thought and try to come up with something. I don't have the answer right now, Ben, but let me keep thinking about it and see. Maybe something will come out of today's discussion with the Bionic team. I don't know.
Okay, great. Yeah, and it could also be, just picking one of the initiatives that's currently underway. So the Afghan project could be something to share with the wider community. If that one's not ready for prime time yet, we could also do, one of these other projects that have been sort of longstanding, or even returning to, there was the device that you guys were working on for a long time. Something that's been sort of on ice for a while. That could be an opportunity to sort of kickstart it back up if there's interest, and if some of the folks here are interested in sort of leading that. So just, that's what it's for. It's sort of to jog
Right.
something back into the front of the queue.
All right. We'll have to think about it. I don't know exactly what that'll be this month, but we'll try to come up with something.
Great.
Anyway, on we go. Yes.
Excuse me, looking on my calendar and on the e-NABLE calendar, it seems to me we have the healthcare meeting, and sorry if we've talked about this just now, but the healthcare meeting and the chapter leaders meeting are at the same time slot and day.
No, the healthcare is the 24th, so that would be a week following the chapter leaders, which is on the
Okay, good.
17th.
But when I looked at the e-NABLE calendar,
It's not on there yet. The one on the calendar, the e-NABLE calendar, we're showing the chapter leader and device pilots meeting at the same time, and that's the device
Right.
pilots meeting is going to be canceled.
okay,
Okay.
got it.
Look
Got it,
again
got
at
it, got it.
Don. Refresh your page.
I believe you. I've got to refresh
Da-da-da.
my calendar, more importantly.
There we go.
Okay.
Thank you, Ben. Okay, on we go. Discussion topics. We already talked about the annual report for Dora, and John and Ben are going to be working on that this weekend. Thank you, guys. Let me know how I can help if you need any other data from me. Since we've got the benefit of having Ben with us, is there anything to follow up here on the transition planning discussion we had? How are we doing? Anything that we need to still work on here as far as handing things off?
Yeah, actually, it's It's been a little bit tricky for me. Sarah's been super patient, and so has John, which is great. I did have opportunity to meet with John and Sarah on, was that Wednesday?
Mhm.
We got a kickstart on looking at the October events. I sent some orientation materials to Sarah, but I think just getting used to the hub. Sarah, have you been checking out the topics in the hub? That'll be something that I think I've noticed that there's been other people that are adding topics.
That's good. I don't know if the audio is working today, Ben. I think
Yeah.
She's hearing us, but we're not hearing
Okay,
her.
yeah,
Yeah,
she said she has been.
yes, I have been.
Yeah, and I've noticed that it's been really helpful. So Sarah's getting oriented in the hub and joining the meetings. There's sort of a lot to take in. So I definitely think that over the course of the month, we're gonna cover all the bases. But until then, it's going to be sort of when the opportunity arises, we can connect. So thanks for being so flexible, Sarah and John.
Yeah, and thank you, Ben,
but-
for doing such a good job with making sure that this stuff is covered and not just disappearing.
Yeah, no, it's great. And Jeremy, I think that the point is we're working it through. I don't think we have anything we need to discuss. I think
Good.
we're going to survive this transition as we have survived other transitions in the past.
All right, we can take that one off then. So I think, Adam, have you done one of these healthcare roundtables so far?
Yep, that's right.
Okay, how'd it go?
It was good. Well, to clarify, there are two elements to this. As I saw it, and this may be in need of modification. Initially, when Ben came to me with the idea of forming this group, I thought that the best use would be to have sort of a meeting space where the various healthcare practitioners in the community would be able to meet asynchronously and possibly have monthly or maybe bi-monthly meetings where we can get together and talk about possible topics for discussion to share with the larger community. For now, just because getting that group together has been a little slow, Ben suggested having a sort of broadly available topic of discussion to be shared at the beginning, just to sort of garner interest. So that's what Tainara and I did last week. And then Tainara actually has very graciously agreed to give up a little of her time again to help me to plan a discussion this month on disability models and sort of how different professions approach rehabilitation, specifically through the lens of amputation. What occupational therapists focus on, what PTs do, as opposed to what like medical practitioners and nurses and prosthetists do. So I think it'll be an interesting discussion. I think moving forward, if we can get a little bit more interest in folks and get a few more healthcare practitioners on board, we can start to widen these discussions. I'd also like to reach out to, well, put it this way, I'd like to be more successful in contacting my community of folks to see if we can get some guest speakers and things on board. And also, if there's anyone that anyone here is familiar with, or anyone who would be a good subject for discussion, I think it would be great to have prosthetists and amputees and orthopedic surgeons, really anyone who'd be interested in speaking on a subject. I think this would be a great opportunity for people to get a little bit more insight about what all of the different pieces that go into the care of people with amputations and limb differences. I think there's a lot of good opportunity there.
Excellent.
And just to summarize, Adam, I noticed your email. What's the topic again for this?
Yeah, this month it will be disability models, specifically how. So, what I'm trying to do is provide the community with a little bit of the language of healthcare, so that terms like disability and limitation and impairment can be used a little bit more accurately, and just provide a little bit more vocabulary when speaking to these kinds of things. But really, it's how impairment leads to functional limitation, which leads to disability, and how those ideas are distinct, and also how medical professions interact with those specific terms, and how they manifest in the care that's provided. So, for example, physical therapists frequently work at a lower level. So we work more at the impairment level, typically leading into functional limitation, whereas occupational therapists will work more at the functional limitation level, trying to find, real world opportunities to improve a person's ability to interact in space. So just drawing that distinction and explaining how the devices that are made through e-NABLE, where that fits in. And I think really my ulterior motive here is leading into what I mentioned a few minutes ago, which is trying to get away from this idea that, everybody should just be planning to print a hand for anybody who comes here looking for assistance, and instead trying to see how we can plug into this sort of framework of healthcare, so that instead of just making something that looks like an anatomical hand, we're finding a way to treat the impairment. We're finding a way to treat the functional limitation without, shoehorning into a single solution, like a one.
So these events have a quick summary. So how's this? TNR will share differences between the approach of physical therapy and occupational therapy to amputee care, where the medical team fits into the picture, and how e-NABLE makers can learn from local healthcare and prosthetics infrastructures.
Sounds good.
Great.
That's how the sausage gets made.
I got to talk a little bit about our matching platforms. I know this has been a long sort of ongoing thing. As of now, kind of where we left things was we have sort of recognized that e-NABLE Web Central may very well not be the right fit for us at least in its current design. There's a little too much complexity, a little too much back and forth, and we would either have to make major changes to the way it functions to simplify things and then get people re-engaged with it, or we have to look at alternate platforms, of which we have at least one good candidate shared with us by our friends in France, but we haven't really had any chance to fully dive into and evaluate. And we've been kind of stuck in this holding pattern for a long time now. We were hoping that our friends over in the UK with Deloitte would be able to help us with some analysis and coming back to us with some plans. It just hasn't manifested, and I don't really know how to get that going. But the reason I'm bringing this up again at this point is I want to just kind of put up a bit of a red flag that we are getting into a bit of danger territory, because I no longer have developers for e-NABLE Web Central. It's literally just sitting there. I've got one guy that if there was an emergency, I could maybe call on him and he'll kind of get to it when he gets to it. He's got a full-time job. But now it's been sitting so long. Like just the other day, I got an email from, I think it was a Google email or something about their OAuth, version that we're currently using is about to be deprecated. And so there's going to come a day where things just stop working in e-NABLE Web Central, and I may or may not be able to get it fixed in a timely manner. So I just want people to recognize that that platform is at risk, because I really don't have anyone caring for it right now. And so we got to figure out how to at least make a decision of what direction do we go. Do we want to reinvest energy into e-NABLE Web Central and making it work and making the changes needed, which I suspect the answer is no, but we haven't really made the decision. And if not, what's our alternative? Because right now, what I'm seeing is people are just kind of falling back on just posting in the hub, hey, I need such and such a device. Can anybody help me? And that's fine if it works. It doesn't strike me as the most effective system for keeping things, well organized and tracked. But we haven't gone anywhere with this. We haven't had anyone that could kind of take this forward and help us to evaluate our options and make a strong recommendation and help us move forward. So I just wanted to kind of raise a bit of a red flag. We're getting into a bit of a danger territory with EWC.
Well, I appreciate that, Jeremy, but it seems to me that this simplifies the question. I think it is now clear that we're not going to revise e-NABLE Web Central. And so now I find myself wondering if we should just stand up the French system, or did we ever ask the French system whether they would be willing to take on non-French, whether they could expand their system to accommodate non-French requests and perhaps some additional non-French coordinators?
I don't think we asked. We certainly can. That's certainly an option. I'm just thinking about the potential impact. I mean, I guess accessing things overseas like that wouldn't have much of an impact on performance for the kind of things we're doing. It should work fine. It would be more of an administrative question, whether they can set things up in a way that different groups can manage their own matching and stuff like that. We should ask, but at the same time, since they've already been kind enough to share a copy, first of all, we should probably ask for an update. I'm sure they've made changes since they shared that with us. But since, you know, Mazu was able to help us get that spun up in a matter of minutes on our own system. So it would be nice if we had somebody that ideally speaks a little French that could help us, because not everything is in English. A lot of the admin stuff on the back end is in French. So somebody needs to help us just kind of figure out how to use it and how to get to the admin elements. And then that person could probably help us figure out what would be involved in getting it set up for our own use.
So you have a better memory than I do on this. So Masby did spin it up.
Oh yeah,
but
we've got it
apparently
running.
it was sufficient to say, okay, it runs. But when you looked at what it would take to maintain it, you said, wait a minute, I don't speak French. Is that a good summary of the?
Yeah, I mean, the language barrier was the main thing, because when you log into the WordPress admin, all of the menus and everything are in French, and I could only decipher some of it. So if we have a bilingual individual, that would make it a lot easier to move forward on this.
So I'm definitely not bilingual. But I've taken 6 years of French, and I've been in France for a little bit. Oof, I could give it a shot, but man, no, it's not going to be pretty.
I don't even remember where we had that. Was it e-NABLE Mat? I don't remember what the address was. Was it
Man, if I had a chance to make all of that time not wasted, that would be great. Just one like real world application of French, that would be great.
Oh,
I don't even remember what address it's at. I'll have to do some digging and find that, but I know we do have it set up. I don't know if I know how to get into the admin side, because that's a different address. So we have some homework to do to even kind of get ourselves back into the instance that we have. But once I can get access, let's have you take a look at them and see. Maybe you'll have better luck than I do.
I will remind you that the language translation technology is, you know, a miracle of the century.
And that's what I'm thinking, is
that's
that
true.
at the very least I know the syntax. So
yeah, I don't remember if I tried using the Google Translate plugin to just translate the whole page. I might not have tried that. So you're right. That might be good enough to get us through. Let me see if I can get us back in there, and let me put that up here. Not that I need more action items, but I'll try to figure out how to get logged into e-NABLE matching platform from France. Okay, let's see what I can figure out.
Okay, so let's do that. Then we should have Rick look at it, because he's likely to end up being an overlord. So it has to fit the way he thinks about
Rick,
all
yeah,
of
okay.
this.
I see what you mean from the admin side, yes.
But okay, well, actually, I think it's good that we let this. I'm not sorry that we let this percolate for a while until it turned out we didn't have a deep decision to make. Now we're just going to deal with the technical question of whether we can stand this system up somehow.
Exactly. So, all right, that's our task before next time we meet. We'll see if we can get some clarification on that. And that brings us about to the top of the hour. So let me just ask, we're not going to get to the rest of these topics. Does anybody have anything that you'd like to share in the way of updates? Adam, anything you want?
Rick is revealing that this is scary. Rick just said, do you have a Microsoft server to set up a sandbox for development? because he would like to set up a pizza.
What's a peepso?
So is exactly, I believe, what you're looking for. And it's incredibly cheap. And it's kind of does what I believe you're asking. And all I really need is a development server, which I have asked for in the past, just a front-facing Microsoft server. Wouldn't take a lot of cycles. And we could actually set up a pizza in parallel. Okay, I'm not saying it should displace what you're trying to do, but it's a backup plan. And I'd be perfectly happy to do that. And the beauty of the pizza is not only is it a public domain, it's actually public domain, but because, I mean, you guys, I'm sure, want support, it's like $100 a year or something like that. It's nothing. And I've used these in the past. It's awesome.
This looks like it would almost be like an alternative to the hub. I mean, this is a whole social networking platform.
It depends. It can be. It's far reaching. It doesn't have to be complete. It can be parts and pieces.
But what we're talking about here is a matching platform. And there is a lot of custom development done by our friends in France in terms of accepting incoming, membership requests and putting those on a map and letting you match people by proximity. You'd have to code all that from scratch if you want something like this.
I think if you look, you'll find it's in there. But I'm just suggesting it.
Listen, I think I'd like to get, so first of all, this is a WordPress plugin.
Yeah,
e-NABLE.org runs on WordPress.
Well, and
Some device. It's coming up tomorrow.
Somebody's got to mute. I have WordPress hosting. I can spin up.
Somebody
want to mute?
That's not coming from
All
my
I'm
world.
suggesting is if we have a sandbox to play in, the development
Right,
is not.
I don't think you need a Microsoft server sandbox. You just need a WordPress sandbox, which I already have.
It depends. It depends. If you want a database, a powerful database in inclusion to what you're trying to do, the French typically use the French have an application development platform called WinDev WebDev, and I have a copy of that from France. I'm one of the developers for them, and it is hard to work with the French because of the thing. But I have that code. It works. In addition, you can, if you happen to have a WordPress that also is on a Microsoft platform, you can run a full database system if it's on the Microsoft platform. If you don't need the database, which I think you'll find you do, that's a different ballgame. Then it's just a WordPress.
Anybody know why I'm hearing an ice cream truck in the background? Music? This is
no.
All right. I don't know where the music is coming from.
I'm just making a suggestion. If you have a sandbox, okay.
We don't. In order to get you one, there would be a cost associated because we're using.
Oh no, we don't want to do that.
We're using Azure hosting, which is pretty pricey. And I'm just hesitant because it's like we're talking about building a new matching platform. And I
don't know. Okay.
I hear you, Rick. I think we might be underestimating what it would take to get the functionality that we're talking about. There's a lot of custom functionality that goes into it. So if you want to have a separate discussion about all the different elements of a matching platform, we can. I don't think building something from scratch is what we want to go, having been through that myself already. But I mean, I get it.
I'm not even suggesting that at all. I'm just saying that if we have a sandbox to put something up just to give you an idea what can be done, you might find that we can even use that for their platform and give us hooks into it. But I'm just opening the discussion. I
mean, we've already got a server spun up for the code that we got from France.
Okay.
So we already have a WordPress server. We already have it running their code. We already have the database, set up, and we uploaded a copy of their database. So I just feel like we should start with what we already have. There's a lot of work.
Oh, that's fine.
But Jeremy, Rick has revealed that he's got significant technical expertise on these platforms, and he is the guy who is the closest to our resident matchmaker. So first of all, Rick, you've looked at Enable Web Central, right?
Yes.
That's also developed on a Microsoft platform, but you're not the kind of developer who would want, or person who would want to take a fresh look at that and see if you want to be the guy to bring it back up to current needs.
I don't know. I don't know on the Web Central. I've just looked at it. I don't know what's under the covers. I know it's probably super expensive because it's sitting on Azure, and that's something that most people don't want to pay for. It's expensive, and it's
okay. So Jeremy, is your Azure account just for Enable Web Central, or is that something you have for 3D Universe as well?
Oh, no, it's all Enable. We've got Enable Web Central. We've got the hub and this new WordPress site that we're testing out from the folks in France. So basically, all of our online stuff is hosted there.
And for us, it is an expense.
Well, not anymore. Now that we've switched to the sort of whatever that is, prepaid billing, I think we've gotten the cost down to where there shouldn't be too much beyond what our grant covers. But if we start spinning up more servers, it gets back into that real quick. Anyway, I think we should probably continue this next time because we're not going to come to a resolution on here.
I don't think a server is required. An existing server is perfectly fine. Even a WordPress existing server is perfectly fine. It just has to be in an area that's not front facing, that could be a sandbox. So you don't have to spin up a server.
I can give you a sandbox WordPress server in a matter of minutes. That's easy.
That's enough. That's more than enough. I don't need a server. I need access to a server, but it doesn't have to be a standalone server. I just was suggesting that if there's a place where we could experiment to give you guys the things you want for free, it just would make sense to go ahead and do that. And I'm ready to set up something that might not solve all your problem, but it's pretty simple. I mean, it's pretty simple to do.
Okay.
So it wouldn't affect what you're doing. It could be off, it could be to the side, you know, it could be in a separate directory. It would not be front facing.
Okay, let's close this deal 1 week from today. But I do think it's worth giving Rick a sandbox so that he can look at our world and see if he has something to offer, because Rick's time is available to us, as is his expertise. So, and keeping Rick happy is one of the reasons we're all here.
Yeah, just try. I mean, if it doesn't work, we're out nothing. Yeah.
Okay. Very good.
All right, we better wrap for today, guys. Anyone else have any questions or anything before we say goodbye?
Don't have a question. I just one very quick update. The chapter leader of, I believe it's Grit 3D in Pakistan, has reached out to me with an offer to help to facilitate things with Afghanistan. So I'm hoping that there'll be some real progress there in the coming weeks.
That's great. They, by the way, I think are doing lower limb stuff.
Right.
Just FYI.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I'm excited about that too.
Okay, everybody, let's get out while we can.
All right, thanks all. See you next time.